All I could do was shake my head as Irene went on. Vicki and Jennifer were acting all polite last night at dinner. Vicki was obviously thrilled about her trip, and Jennifer was, well, trying not to seem too happy about it. Maybe after dinner, both of them talked to Nathan on the phone, and from what I heard, those calls were all sweet and friendly. Kind of made me sick, she concluded. I get it. Vicki was excited to chat about her Aruba trip, but Bert and we kind of just zoned out. Both of them really. They got the hint and left quiet as mice. I wish things were better, Brad. Me too, for sure. So what's the plan with Aaron and Grace and the company? Everyone knows you're the real boss there. Are they going to step up or what? Nah, they're not into the idea of working all the time, plus they're not hurting for cash. I've got someone in mind who might buy it. If all goes well, they'll be rid of it by next month. Wow, that's big news. Yeah, I don't see why I should stick around to run it for them anymore. I get it, Brad. And this journey you're talking about, when's that starting? Brad gave a soft, sad smile. Heading to the airport soon. I'll hit Tokyo before Vicki flies off to Aruba. After Tokyo, who knows? I plan to be gone a long while, maybe a few years. Got a whole bunch of places I want to see. Told my parents about it, we'll meet up somewhere sometime. Years, you gotta promise me something, Brad. What's that? Keep us in the loop. Only us. Every week without fail, Bert and me will come find you on your adventure. That's a deal. Maybe Aaron and Grace too, if they can swing it. You're not just going to vanish on us, Brad. Vicki and the kids won't know. Nope, not a word. Unless you say it's okay. Okay, then. I've got your emails. I'll send updates from wherever I am. You share what you want with Bert. What about Sarah? Brad paused to think. Give it some time, Irene. I'm not sure about Sarah right now. Okay, Brad. Just try not to be too hard on Sarah. She's really torn up about this. What do you think about leaving your marriage, Brad? You keep saying you won't go back, but what's really on your mind? Do you think Vicki will leave you because you left, or do you think she'll wait for you to return? Brad just lifted his shoulders. I don't care much, Irene. She can leave if she wants. The only money and stuff she can ask for in court is her own. In our house, I don't mind. She can have the house, I'm okay with that. My lawyer can sign for me if she wants to sell it. He'll talk to her after she gets home. Sure, she might get some money from me through court, but she'll never get it from me. She might wait for me, but she's wasting her time. I'm not going back. You need to get that, Irene. I won't go back to her. What about your kids? They're big moments, getting married, having kids of their own. No, this Nathan guy or anyone else she finds can be there for them. That sounds really harsh, Brad. Maybe. Or not. I can't see it all clearly right now. I might never. Finding out your wife and kids don't care about you is hard. Maybe they should feel the same from me. Who knows? They might learn something. Irene felt really sad. She truly cared for her son-in-law. Do you know anyone where you're headed? Nope, not a soul after I leave Tokyo. I need that. A new start or a reset. I just need to be with people who don't know me. I need to figure out if I'm the problem. I'm not sure what I need, but now, like Vicki wants something new, I do too. I want to start over. Tears were running down Irene's face. You're not planning to let them know what you're up to? No, not anytime soon at least. I just can't make up my mind if they'll even care. Not really, you know? But then I think, let them feel what I've been through. What goes around comes around. Right now that I know Mark and Jen are okay with Vicki picking someone else to take my place, I'm pretty sure they won't miss me. Sorry for the rough talk this week. That's okay, Brad. You can talk however you want with me. This whole thing just makes me really sad. It's all so dumb and hurtful. None of it makes any sense. No, it really doesn't. But you can pass a message to Vicki for me next time you see her, okay? Irene gave him a soft smile. Of course. What's the message? Brad took Irene's hand across the table, opening it. He put his wedding ring in it. Just that, Irene. Tell her. Nothing more to say. Jennifer took her mom to the airport. After saying bye, Jennifer started heading back to school. She used her car to call Mark on his new phone. He picked up sounding half asleep. Yeah? Hey, wake up. I just left Mom at the airport and I'm going back to school. You got any plans today? Yeah, I do. Forget your plans, Mark, and don't plan on spending any cash. Dad took all the money and left somewhere. I can't get anyone to tell me where. I think Grandma Irene knows, 'cause she met him last week. I don't know what I did, but she's hardly talking to me. Grandma gave Mom Dad's wedding ring yesterday, saying it's all Dad wanted to say to us. She won't talk to Mom now. I don't think she's as mad as Grandma, but she's mad at us. Everyone is. So is Grandpa. He told Mom and me to leave his house and not come back. What? What? Listen, we have no money, Mark. Dad took all the family's cash with him. He left nothing but Mom's money. What? No money? Yeah, like we're flat broke. I asked Mom if she would cover our school costs, but she didn't give a clear yes or no. She earns a lot, but now she's got to handle all the bills herself. Dad used to do that. She said the tax for the house is more than $90,000 and it's due soon. That cash should have been ready, but Dad took it. I'm not sure how much Mom saved from her job, but it looks like we're in a tight spot. Man, do we need to get loans for school? Looks like it. We might even lose our cars. What? I thought they were fully paid. Nope, they're not, and the loans are in your name and mine. Remember those papers at the car shop Dad wanted us to have? Good credit, paying for us, but he's not here to do that now, and I doubt we'll get more cash from him. I've got about $1,500. Maybe $400. That's it. Yeah, what about Grandma Irene and Grandpa Bert? Can they help? Mom said she'd ask them when she's back. She doesn't want to stress over money while on vacation, and they were too upset to talk before she left for Aruba. It's looking bad, Mark. This is really messed up. It is. Any clue where Dad went? Nope, but Mom said the safety box at the bank is empty too. He has his passport. I feel he might have left the country, like to another place. Why would he do that? Think he's after Nathan in Aruba? I don't know, Mark. Just can't find him. Did you tell Mom? She should know, right? Oh, like we told Dad she was cheating? Hey, that's not the same. Dad could get mad, big difference. Do you think Dad would actually go that far, be violent? How should I know? He's mad, right? He's got money. What else would a mad rich guy do? Man, how much would it take to get some rough guys in Aruba to mess Nathan up real bad? Just a few bucks. You're talking about the mafia. You get what I'm saying. Bad guys or whatever. They could make it seem like a robbery or something. Man, you hear about stuff like that on TV all the time. You mean the news? Whatever. TV. TV. You have to tell Mom. I can't tell Mom anything. You know I'm driving, and she's about to fly. You tell her. Fine, I'll text her. Maybe Nathan can get a guard there or something, or maybe they'll just stick to their room or like stay on the busy beach. This is so messed up, Mark. It's Mark, Mom, Jen, and I think Dad might be going to Aruba when you are. We think he's after Nathan, maybe you too. Bad news, I know, but you guys need to watch out. Really watch out. If Dad is there, he might get someone to target you. Jen and I are super worried. Be careful. Vicki only saw the message that night. She hadn't even looked at her phone until after she and Nathan got to their hotel room and had a good time in bed. For Vicki, at least. It was good seeing. It was their first time together like that. Then they cleaned up and got ready for the beach. Vicki loved the beach. It was full of good-looking men and pretty women too. Vicki didn't mind Nathan looking as long as he was cool with her doing the same. It kind of got them both going again. She thought about why she and Brad never went to a place like this. Wow, it would have been so romantic. When she saw the text after they ate and went to their room to get ready for the night out, she got a worried look on her face. Was Mark serious? Brad? Nathan saw her look and asked her what was wrong. She showed him the message, and Nathan went white. Nathan didn't like any kind of rough stuff, not in movies or books. That message made them skip the club and just go back to bed. Lovemaking was the closest Nathan wanted to be to anything rough. Brad took a deep breath, surprised by how different Tokyo smelled from home. The city was loud too. He got there 3 days ago, talked to the person he wanted to sell his business to, and they agreed to a deal fast. Brad didn't want to get rich from selling his company, a bit of cash sure, but not a fortune. He mainly wanted the sale done fast, and a place that didn't share info with the U.S. The money would then go to his account in the Caribbean. Hioki Mishima got what Brad was after without much talk. They were both happy with the deal and were just waiting for the paperwork. The papers would be sent to his family to sign, sent back, and then Brad would get his money. His money guy in the U.S. would sort out the tax part. Brad thought he'd stay in Tokyo for another week or two. After that, he'd go to either Hong Kong or Taipei. He couldn't pick which first, so he might just flip a coin. He would miss his company. He built it from nothing over many years. Would he miss it more than his old family? He thought so. After all, the company had never let him down. When he got back to his hotel that night, there was an email from Irene waiting. He chuckled as he read the note. My always dear Brad, guess what? Something so funny happened. I thought not to share, but can't help it. Mark and Jennifer think you ran off to Aruba to mess with Nathan and your silly wife. And yes, they think you're using the mafia. Vicki texted a lot and called me, angry, asking where you are. She's sure I know your spot. Trust me, I told her nothing. Just Bert knows. She and her tough guy think you're lurking in Aruba. They think you're spoiling their nice trip. Vicki said Nathan is so scared of you popping up that he's having troubles. Oh boy, I really found this as funny as Bert did. I tried to take Vicki's call seriously, but I ended up laughing so hard. I did tell her I wish you were in Aruba though. Bert even joked to Nathan about using his company's dental plan if needed. He said it so calmly too. Anyway, tell us what's up. Bert and I miss you so much. After Vicki's calls, we figured we like you more than Vicki. I don't get Vicki anymore. How sad, right? I told Grace and Aaron too. Aaron laughed so hard, Grace had a big laugh too. I missed them. We're hanging out with them this weekend. Sarah heard most of the Vicki chat, so she knows. Please think over your issues with her. She's really upset about what's going on. I truly believe you can trust Sarah. Let us know what you decide. Maybe we can plan to chat on Skype, Zoom, or something else. I miss seeing your face and hearing your talk. Please let us know when you're free. Don't forget you're our son. We love you a lot, Irene. There was a big time gap of 14 hours between Irene's place and Tokyo, with Tokyo ahead by a day. Brad thought it over, then sent an email to Irene picking a time for a call on their next Saturday night. He asked Sarah if she could join the call too if she's not busy. Brad walked around Tokyo, feeling a pang of wishfulness that his family could see it with him. Vicki was right on one thing: he wasn't used to being all by himself for more than 2 decades. He had Vicki and his family. Before that, it was his parents. He had his job too. And while he only knew his coworkers so well, they were there. They looked up to him and trusted him to steer the company right. But here Brad was, all alone in an incredible city with no one to share it with. He thought of how much Mark would have liked the Imperial Palace in Tokyo, so he took a photo and of the Tokyo Tower. Brad could almost imagine Vicki saying it felt like seeing a small part of Paris on their trip, or what could have been their trip if Vicki. No, Brad stopped himself. She made her choice, and it wasn't him. The sake bar in the hotel was a break from Brad's thoughts. Some businessmen, already tipsy from celebrating a big sale, invited Brad to join them. They had earned a lot of money, would soon fly home to their families, and everything was good in their world. For a few hours, Brad drank, spoke, and remembered what family and joy used to feel like. Evan Ralston was someone Brad would remember for a long time. Deep into the night, the two of them talked. Ex-Mrs. Ralston, the first, Evan laughed. That was a marriage from young passion. If the base of our marriage was just about sex, it would have been super strong. He took a small sip of sake. Brad pushed the water a bit closer to Evan, hinting at the tough morning ahead. Yet no marriage survives on just desire. We split before 2 years ended, but oh, those were some years. Ex-Mrs. Ralston, number 2. I really thought she was it. So smart, saw through all my nonsense. Ever win a fight with her? No chance. I bet some guy's famous for winning just one time, huh? But smart as she was, she became a top lawyer, rose up fast. Soon, we hardly saw each other. She was busy saving big shots, and I was swamped as a COO. After 5 years, it was over. I still see her sometimes. She's with a homebody now, fits her well. The third Mrs. Ralston was a real mistake. After 1, I knew it wasn't all about lust. After 2, I learned about putting time and work into it, but I put in everything and she took everything. Evan tried to drink water, chuckled, then burst into laughter. When he calmed down, he continued, she was after my money, she tricked me. What I missed back then, myself, I thought I was ready and jumped with the first who seemed interested. And she made a fool of me. But Judy, she's all I need. Been 15 years, and each one's been love-filled. Without those first 3, I'd never have met her. So what were we even talking about? Both of them burst into laughter. Evan laughed because he was too drunk to think clearly. For Brad, it was a burst of random fun that made him forget his sad past for a bit. The silly advice they shared was funny, but laughing without thinking of his old troubles made Brad truly happy. His laughter was like letting go of a lot of sadness. Vicki ended up taking a taxi from the airport. Nathan said he could drive her, but she said no, hoping maybe, just maybe, Brad would be at home waiting. She knew it was a slim chance, but at least he hadn't shown up in Aruba, or so she thought. Just worrying about Brad being there had spoiled her time with Nathan a lot. Goodness, Nathan was so not brave in bed. Nathan was good when he could keep his mind on it, but that didn't happen much in their 2 weeks together. As they got closer to leaving, Nathan got more and more scared. What a chicken he was. Also, the way Vicki's mom and dad acted about her and Nathan on the phone was terrible. They could have been a bit kind, but no, they laughed at her worries. They even said they hoped Brad was in Aruba. That made Vicki really mad. But if she had to say how good her trip was, she'd give the place, the hotel, and the beaches a top score. It was better than she thought, even with the fear of Brad showing up. Nathan and the stuff they did in bed, maybe a low score. Sure, Nathan knew how to make a woman happy, but he wasn't exciting. With the thought of Brad being around and romance, there was none. They had to cancel so many plans because Nathan was too scared. Why go after a wife if scared of her man anyway? Vicki was okay with what she did. It wasn't about Nathan, really. Now she had to fix things. She needed to make things right. She hoped she could fix everything and go back to her happy life with the man she loved so much. But Brad had to try if he wanted his ring back. It was mean of him to have his mom give Vicki his ring before heading to Aruba. Vicki paid the taxi guy after he took out her bags. She stood outside looking at her big, nice house. Letters had piled up by the door. Brad wasn't there and hadn't been. "Mom, stay away from Nathan," Jen begged again. "Why?" "It's just for fun," Vicki thought, confused why Jen kept saying this. "For 2 weeks, Jen said avoid Nathan if you want Dad back. You can't see him. I'll end it when your dad returns." "Why can't I have fun with Nathan till then?" "Because Dad will know and may not return." "Or don't you want him back, Jen?" "Nathan's just a friend to Mom. Dad will understand once he's back, right, Mom?" Mark tried to calm them as if it's a problem that could easily be solved. "I'm not saying Nathan's bad," Jen was at her end. She held her head, trying hard not to lose it. "Dad's gone, and with Nathan here, he sure won't come back," she cried out. Vicki looked at her kids puzzled. Why couldn't Jen see it? Nathan was here, Brad was not. Vicki missed Brad, but he had left without a word. If Brad were here, maybe there'd be no Nathan. That thought made her smile a bit. Nathan wasn't strong, but he had his moments. Plus, Brad left them behind. Vicki stayed. She was here trying to keep their home alive. Brad, he was out there, not even trying to save what they had. Silence, that's all she got from him. "Mom, you hear me?" Jen's voice snapped Vicki back. "Yes, Jen, you're not even listening, as usual," Jen said, sighing. "How dare you say that?" Vicki felt her anger rise. "You weren't there for Dad," Jen spelled it out loud and clear. "What was I supposed to do?" "He was just mad," Vicki argued. "He told you he couldn't live with this mess, but you didn't care. You didn't listen then, and you're not listening now. So what do you want me to do?" Vicki was losing her patience. "Oh great, this is just a bad joke," Jen slumped on the couch. She remembered something about doing the same thing and expecting a different result. "Dad said it, she said it, even Grandma Irene and Grandpa Bert, but it didn't matter." Vicki went back to planning the weekend with Nathan coming over. Jen fought back tears. She had hoped her parents could make things right, but it seemed more hopeless with each day. Deep down, she just wanted her dad back. As for Brad, he was wandering through a market. Brad was tired and empty inside. He was bored and couldn't sit still. He had been on the road for months, and it was starting to get to him. He missed his family a lot. It wasn't as bad as before, but the missing piece was there. He wished he had Vicki with him. Brad was looking for something to light up his hopes for a fresh start. He didn't want to just wander around without a purpose. He needed something solid in his life. So far, he hadn't found it. Sure, walking through different lands and cities had its thrill of new sights, sounds, smells, and vibes. They were okay for a while. Even the tough time he got in Beijing just because he had been to Taipei, Taiwan, felt like a small adventure. He almost chuckled thinking back to the time he was questioned in Beijing. They straight up asked if he worked for the CIA. Brad had laughed, which made everyone in that room quite annoyed. He had said the idea of the CIA was way too hyped up, which didn't sit well with them. But after a few hours of questioning, they let him go. Brad didn't know if they kept tabs on him in Beijing, and honestly, he didn't care. He figured they had enough on him to check out his story. He thought maybe he should go back to Vietnam, spend more time there, maybe a year. His grandpa was a Marine who had done 2 tours in Vietnam. He died there, but Brad didn't know where. He felt a pull to go back and explore the country more. What he was doing now was following the path of American bases in Southeast Asia from the Vietnam War. This had brought him to Thailand. He landed in Bangkok from Ho Chi Minh City, what used to be called Saigon, and then went straight north to Chiang Mai. There used to be an army base there, Green Berets. He found out they were long gone. Then he moved a bit southeast to Nakhon Phanom. This spot had caught his eye. It used to be a U.S. Air Force base for special missions right on the edge of Laos, pretty close to Hanoi. This place was so key that it got a C-130 plane to watch the sky every night when it was dark. There was an older guy who once worked with Brad. He used to be in the Air Force, now working part-time. Brad liked him right away, and they often had lunch together. This man told him about Nakhon Phanom. He was there in 1975 as a security policeman. NKP they called it. It was a secret spot then, its name not said by Air Force folks outside. Their orders didn't name it, just a code. Only those who'd been would know the code. He was on Tiger Flight, working from dusk till dawn. Even in 1975, a year after the Vietnam War officially ended, there were fights at that base in the dark. They didn't call them battles because the Air Force wasn't supposed to fight on the ground, according to rules set in 1947. Only the Army or Marines could do ground fights outside an airbase. But it was a hidden war, not talked about, and these secret police guys fought it. No Army or Marines were near NKP. The nearest help was 150 miles away at Korat. The policemen at NKP took it on themselves to keep their base safe, often heading into the jungle around to guard their place, going out, setting up traps, doing what they felt needed right then. Sometimes Viet Cong or Thai communists tried to sneak into NKP base to hit the planes. But they never made it. They were always caught before they could do any harm. In 1975, 2 big tries were made to take over NKP while Americans were there. They had a system for such threats. If they sent a red option 1 alert to Korat, it meant the base was under heavy attack. They had just 1 hour to win back the base or leave. This was because help from Korat would come with F-4 Phantoms ready to drop firebombs all over NKP. Both times they managed to stop the attack within an hour, but once it took almost the full hour to call off the alert. NKP was never going to be given up easily. Brad was eager to see this place. A local guy took him there, but it was all gone, swallowed up by the jungle. Feeling let down, he took a bus to the next place, Korat. The Korat base was still there, but he couldn't get close to it, so he chose to stay a while. It was easy to rent a house, and he thought he'd spend a month there before heading to Bangkok. Korat was a welcoming spot for Americans. Walking around the city was a nice way to spend time. The markets were lively and full of colors, but he often found himself thinking of what Vicki or the kids would like from there. During one market visit, something happening caught his eye. People around started to stop, look, and then walk on. Brad watched too. A fruit seller was holding onto a young boy's arm. The boy looked no older than 10. He guessed the seller was really mad at the boy, who held some kind of fruit. He had a strong hold on the boy and was shaking him. Then a little girl ran up and hit the seller on the leg. She was younger than the boy and yelling something in Thai, which Brad didn't get. It was clear the seller caught the boy trying to take the fruit without paying. Both kids had very old and torn clothes. Brad watched the whole thing happen. When 2 cops showed up, things got more serious. One cop got mad and yelled at the boy and the girl in Thai. Even if you didn't know the words, you could tell the cop was mad. Then he hit the boy. The little girl got grabbed and shook hard. She was crying a lot, maybe calling for her mom or dad, but no grown-ups came to help them. Brad walked over without thinking. The cops and the seller stopped yelling at the kids to look at him. Brad had his hands out, showing he meant no harm, and smiled. "Do you speak English?" "Sorry, I don't know Thai. Can I talk to you for a bit?" Brad kept his voice easy and calm. An older cop walked over to Brad, pulling the girl with him. She was still crying a lot. "What do you want?" the cop asked. He did not seem nice. Brad kept smiling. "Just want to help." "Okay, the kids, did they forget to pay?" The cop looked shocked by the question. "Forget what? Do you mean forget?" Brad kept smiling. "The kids," he said, pointing. "They were helping me buy fruit. I asked them. You get me? What, you lie? They were stealing. No jail for me, Brad said firmly. I'll pay for the fruit. How much? Brad knew he didn't speak Thai, but guessed that most people in Asia had a bit of English from school, like American kids learned Spanish or French. He figured saying pay a lot would make his point clear. The seller got the hint and pushed past the two cops. You pay. Yes, you pay. His voice lit up with the sound of money. The cop gave the seller a look, then turned a harsh gaze on Brad. You lie. You want kids, that's what you're after. Brad felt his stomach turn. Are you out of your mind? He snapped. Kids? Are you sick? I should knock you out right here. Brad was so mad he could hardly see straight. The thought disgusted him. He wanted to lash out at everyone in that market. The older cop watched Brad, then chuckled. Okay, he said, trying to calm things down. You don't want kids, that's good. But what about the theft? Brad took a moment to cool off. I'll pay for the fruit. Let the seller say the price. The cop nodded. Good, but still, you stole. You ready to pay a fine too? Brad got the hint. I pay the fine and we're done. No jail, no report. The cop nodded again. You pay, then it's all good. No jail, no paperwork. Brad agreed with a smile. I'll pay how much for the fruit and the fine. They stood under the hot sun for about 30 minutes to agree on a price. The seller ended up getting triple what the single piece of fruit was worth, and the police, they wanted more. Brad paid right there in cash. When all was said and done, Brad figured it all cost him just over $18 US. Not bad at all. Brad now had two small kids with him, both didn't know any English, not a single word. The little girl was crying and holding onto the boy, who just stared at Brad. He smiled and bent down to their level. You guys hungry? Want food? He showed an eating gesture. The girl's tears stopped and her eyes got big. The boy didn't move until the girl tugged on his hand. They had a quick chat in Thai, then the boy nodded at Brad. All right, Brad said, let's go find some food. He knew a little place nearby where he had eaten before. The food was good there. Brad wasn't sure what exactly he had eaten, but it was tasty. He decided to take the kids there. Standing up, he offered his hands. They were shy at first, but then each kid took a hand. They reached the restaurant in about 5 minutes. The woman running the place didn't seem happy to see the kids at first, but Brad handed her some of his money, and she showed them to a table at the back. The kids looked lost with the menu. Brad guessed they couldn't read, so he got the owner and asked her to pick something good for the kids. She laughed and walked off. Soon she brought back a beer for Brad and what seemed like sodas for the kids, probably not real Coke but close. The kids enjoyed it. By their third round, the woman brought out a plate of fried rice and meat on sticks for everyone. To Brad, it could have been monkey or dog, both eaten here. Cat and snake were common too, but Brad was clueless about it. Yet the kids were happy with the meat sticks. He thought the fried rice would be too spicy, but they dove in without a second thought. The little girl chatted away in Thai all through their meal. He didn't get what she was saying, but she was laughing, and laughing was way better than crying, so he laughed too. She was funny, so laughing came easy. The boy didn't talk much but said a few words here and there. He seemed more into his food. Brad tried to figure out where their parents were, even asking the person who ran the place for help, but got no clear answer. The owner just said to wait, the kids would show him the way after eating. So he waited. After the kids were full, unable to eat another bite, he paid and took the leftover food with him, and there was a lot of it this time. The kids grabbed his hands. They led him to something that looked like a church. It even had a cross in front. Finding a Christian church in Thailand, was the last thing Brad expected, but then again, why not? The Thai people were the nicest and most open Brad ever met, except if you were a thief, they didn't like thieves. Besides that, You couldn't find nicer folks. The kids pulled him inside. It was so dark he had to stay still for a bit until his eyes got used to it. The kids waited with him. When he could see, they led him to a seat. The boy smiled, and the girl hugged his leg. Then they walked up to a place cut off by a rail from the front part of the church. Brad wasn't big on religion, his family wasn't either. They were kind of Catholic, but only did the basics. He knew right away what the kids were doing at the rail. They were praying. In a soft voice, Brad sat for a long while until an older man sat next to him. He wore a priest's collar. Brad looked at him curiously, and the priest looked back, also curious. Then Brad pointed at himself and then at the kids. "Ah," the priest whispered, "you watch kids?" "What?" "No, I don't think so. They took me here." "What are they praying for?" The priest gave a small smile. "They pray for Dad who died." "Dad died 1 year ago?" Is it cancer?" "Yes, thank you. Cancer. Boy, girl, pray here every day. For Dad's soul. You get it? Every day?" Brad nodded. "Every day, no matter what. Pray here, wait for Mom. She works long hours, 12, 14 hours every day. Kids wait here. Kids believe in God." The priest smiled, shook his head. "Not exactly. Just ask God to think of Dad." "Thanks," Brad said to the priest. "I'll wait here with the kids for Mom, okay?" The priest smiled, nodded, then went away. The kids kept praying. Brad found it odd that kids this young usually can't stay still, yet here they were, not moving an inch. About 10 minutes after the priest left, the kids stopped praying. They stood, smiled at Brad, and sat next to him on the bench. The girl climbed into his lap, resting her head against his chest. The boy hugged Brad's arm, laid his head on it, and fell asleep fast. Brad raised his brows, looking at the girl. She smiled, hugged him, then rested her head again on his chest. She fell asleep quickly too. So Brad sat there, thinking. This was unexpected for him. He didn't have a watch, he preferred his phone, which was now under the sleeping girl. He had no clue about the time or when their mom might come, if she would come at all. She would, right? Brad only knew one thing for sure, he had to get rid of the beer he drank at the restaurant. Darn beer. Here you don't keep it, you just borrow it for a bit. To keep his mind off things, he thought about these 2 kids who came to this dim little church every day to pray for their dad who had passed away. They weren't from this faith, but here they were every day, praying for their dad. Who does that? Brad figured their dad must have been a really great guy for the kids to love him so much, even a year after he was gone. Who does that? He wrapped his left arm around the little girl and squeezed gently. She made a tiny sound and snuggled closer to him. Brad smiled. She reminded him of his own kids when they were her age. And then he felt sad. His kids. Did they miss him? Did they think about him? Probably not. They probably wouldn't pray for him. No, they were likely out eating pizza with Nathan, unless Nathan was busy with Vicki, then Mark and Jennifer might leave some pizza in the fridge for Nathan. Damn. Brad couldn't stop comparing himself to this beloved dad. This dad had everything. His kids still loved him a lot, enough to pray for him a year after he was gone. What did Brad have? Nothing. Everything he did. Everything he worked hard for, every bit of himself he gave, all wasted. His life was just a dream that turned into a nightmare. A sad, empty nightmare. At some point, Brad fell asleep. He felt the lightest touch on his left shoulder while he slept, and he smiled, thinking a tiny fairy had come by. Then another, and a third, though this one felt a bit heavier. And then, what? Brad woke up. It was still dark, but he could see there was a woman standing in front of him. A young woman, and she was pretty. She looked at him in a strange way. "Children," she said. She had a sweet voice. Is that your name? He asked, half asleep, confused. She looked mad for a sec. Kids. Mine. Kids. Ah, sorry. These two? Your kids? Yes, my kids. Brad tried to smile. Man, he needed to pee. It's okay, he said. They were nice company. I fell asleep. He pointed to the food left from the meal. Hungry? We ate some corn dish. You hungry? Please, have some. She looked puzzled. Then a priest came over. They talked in Thai, and she seemed less wary, just tired and confused. She glanced at the food again. After talking more, it was decided Brad would carry the sleeping kids to their home for the woman, Tam Thong, and she'd take the food. Odd as it was, she trusted him. Maybe she just needed help. Her place was a small, sad mess, but calling it a mess was kind. The woman and her kids slept on a clean pile of blankets on the floor. No pillows yet, everything was clean. He was surprised. With the kids asleep, no nightclothes to put them in, he asked about using her toilet. He had to mime, which was awkward. She didn't mind, showing him a small room at the back. No toilet, just a hole in the ground. He got what he meant. Alone, he used the hole. He walked out to see her munching on the cold food. She was eating fast. This lady was just as hungry as the kids had been. She seemed to like his company, so he stayed. He didn't have anything else to do, and she looked lonely. She didn't speak English well, but he got the gist of it. Brad got about a quarter of what she said. That was enough. Her husband had been a worker, got sick, the cancer the priest talked about, and passed away. No money was left after. She didn't have much schooling, so she could only find a job washing dishes at a tiny, filthy place. She disliked it there. The boss was mean, but she had no choice. She needed the job for her kids. Brad really felt a bond with her. She wasn't just trying to make him feel sorry, she just told it how it was, and Brad appreciated that. He stayed up with her until nearly 1 a.m. Then she said she needed to sleep. She had work at 8 a.m. Brad thanked her for the chat. She thanked him for the food and for looking after her kids, and he left. He found his rental house easily despite the dark. The next day, he was at the market again and saw the kids eyeing the food stands. He laughed, joined them, and took them to eat at the same place. Then he went with them to the church, waited until Tam Thong came, and had leftovers for her. This became their daily routine: find the kids, feed them, wait while they prayed, then give Tam Thong food and enjoy a talk until she had to sleep. In the second week, he saw where she worked. The place was awful, and that made him mad. He didn't know why, but he felt it was right. By the fourth week, Brad made up his mind. He didn't even realize he was thinking about it, but he chose to stay in Korat for a long time. He wanted to help Tam Thong and her kids, who he had become very fond of. The house he was renting was cheap, with furniture for just a bit over $1,500 a month. It was big for Thailand, with 3 bedrooms and a real bathroom with both a tub and shower. There were beds and sheets. The smallest room had 2 small beds. It also had a fenced backyard with a little pool and a lot of space out front. The area was quite nice, a good place for them to live. He just needed to convince Tam Thong to leave her job and work for him as a housekeeper who lived with him. He thought it would be easy. It wasn't. Brad didn't think she'd take his offer the wrong way, thinking he wanted her more as a partner than a worker. She got really mad when he first asked her. She spoke fast in Thai, very upset, so he got the priest to help. Brad showed him the house and asked him to talk to Tam Thong. The priest said yes, and they planned for him, Tam Thong, and her kids to come over to Brad's for an early breakfast. Very early. It still took 3 weeks for Tam Thong to believe Brad wasn't after something else. He just wanted help, plus he needed someone to keep the house clean. The timing was right because Tam Thong was very upset with her boss at the small restaurant she worked at. She said yes to Brad's offer. Brad let Tam Thong and the priest work out how much she'd be paid and the rules about her and the kids living with him. She used to make $184 a day at the restaurant. Brad said he'd give her $110 a day to work for him, but she said no way, that was too much cash for the housework he wanted. So, the priest and Tam Thong talked it over. They settled on $3 a day, plus Brad would buy clothes for the kids and teach them English. The kids weren't going to school, so Brad got them a tutor. He also wanted Tam Thong to learn English too. They talked it over for days before agreeing. Brad moved them into his house with just one trip. The kids loved it, not just because of the big, nice house. They really liked Brad and felt safe with him. Tam Thong was scared at first, but after a few weeks, she saw Brad was good. He never made her feel uncomfortable, and seeing her kids laugh with him made her happy. Tam Thong did the shopping with Brad, sometimes tagging along. He was picking up a bit of Thai, just enough to get by when she haggled at the market. Tam Thong could drive a hard bargain. She was also an amazing cook. She'd tell Brad off if he tried to help clean up after meals. He was paying her for that. Her kids would jump in if she needed help. The kids stopped going to their small church, but kept praying for their dad at home, by their bed. Tam Thong thought they should stop, they weren't Christian. But Brad said let them be. When Tam Thong learned about Brad's past, his own loss, she saw things differently. Her kids remembering their dad helped Brad feel better about his own lost ones. Dumb Bert Nathan lifted his glass high and drank it down fast, asked, that's the stuff. What's up, Nate? Dwayne said, why dump Bert? The old guy's been a real pain since I took Vicki to Aruba, keeps throwing dumb, mean words at me. I've had enough of his nonsense. He's still on about that? Yep, it's not my fault Vicki wants something more. If her not-so-great husband was doing his job, Vicki wouldn't even glance my way. Why should I get flack for their bad marriage? Nathan finished his beer in a long gulp, catching the bartender's eye. Nathan gave his mug a little wave. The bartender filled it up again with the tap beer. Want another shot? Asked the bartender. Yeah, no big talks till 9 tomorrow. Fill it up, man. Will you be okay tomorrow? Just watching you drink makes me feel for my liver. Dwayne shook his head. This? It's nothing, man. You should have seen me in Aruba. Vicki was so scared we might get into trouble, we had to drink just to calm down. All this? Just the start, Nathan shook his head. Man, forget that guy and his family. I'm going to have Vicki every which way this weekend. Bert's little girl is going to be all over the place. Want to bet she won't show at work Monday 'cause sitting's too hard for her? Dwayne chuckled, okay, here's $20 she's there Monday. Deal? Easy cash, Nate. Why Vicki? You got others, right? Why make Bert mad over her? She was the top prize, boss's happy wife. Those others? Too easy. A grin, a nod, and they were all over me. No fun in that. But Vicki? She was the real test, and man, you've seen her. Makes those other girls look like nothing. To know if I'll ever get enough of her. Just thinking about her might not last till Saturday. Might need to see her tonight. You just think with what's down there, Nate. Seems fine for Maverick, didn't it? This will come back to bite you, Pete interjected quietly. Until now, Nathan had forgotten he was there. What's that mean? Some bad luck stuff? No, not luck. Know why bad guys get caught? There's always a risk. Take a risk enough times and you lose. So, I'm a bad guy now? Nathan shot back. No, yes, hell, I don't know. Just know if you did that to my kid, I'd be real mad. You're not a bad guy, but you're making people mad. I'm the bad one here. Pete turned to Nathan, looked him right in the eye. To some, yeah. It don't matter if you think what you do is okay. Those hurt by cheating? You're top on their bad list. He sighed. Look, you're not a bad dude. We wouldn't hang if we thought you were. But it's not just Dwayne and me. It's all those others who see you messing up marriages, telling us who's to blame. Won't change how they see it. They're not here, listening to your side. Pete, a bit tipsy, shared his thoughts before he left. Watch out. You can't play around forever. It'll catch up to you. He finished his drink and said bye. Soon after, Dwayne left too. Nathan stayed, thinking over his last beer. He found Dwayne dumb. Dwayne's wife was likely cheating, Nathan knew because he had been with her. But he stopped after learning she was too easy. He didn't want an STD. Pete's advice got to him, though. Maybe it was time to settle. Not get married, though. Nathan didn't want that. Vicki was fun, and he wasn't ready to let her go, but nothing serious. Dwayne and Pete were fun to hang out with. Nathan was worried since Vicki's kid said Brad was after him. Vicki's husband was a crazy man, and she was the best he had yet. She was married to a loner. Nathan remembered a past encounter. Wendy Lawson was fun, and they didn't take her husband seriously, but when he found out, he punched Nathan so hard it hurt to chew. Wendy pulled her husband away before it got worse. That hurt a lot. Now Nathan was more careful. He checked the husbands first. Brad seemed easy. Vicki had him under control. He was always quiet and didn't seem like a threat to Nathan. Nathan was always looking around, checking the dark spots, wondering if the next guy to come in was there to fight him. He downed his last shot, hoping it would help him chill until he could get home. The more he thought about it, the more he liked the idea of leaving. Dwayne and Pete might not be tough, but they were company. Alone, Nathan felt too out in the open. He finished his beer fast, left some money for the tip, and headed home. Mark, can you get that? Vicki yelled from the kitchen. Got it, Mark shouted back and opened the door. Hey man, you look great, Nathan said, shaking Mark's hand. We didn't think you'd be here so soon. Come on in, Mark welcomed Nathan inside. What's that you've got? Oh, this? Just some barbecue sauce and chips. Wasn't sure what to bring. Cool, I'll just put this in the kitchen. Mark took the bag to the kitchen. Barbecue sauce? Didn't you remember we use a special rub and Dad's secret sauce? Then it hit Mark, it was Dad's sauce. Who would make it now? Did his mom know how? Maybe they would need Nathan's sauce after all. Nathan! Jen shouted and hugged Nathan tightly. Jen! How's school? Jen got quiet. Oh, we're working it out. What's there to work out? You pick your classes, show up, do your work, that's it. Did it get hard since I left? Jen smiled. No, not that. School's okay, but Dad stopped sending money. Mark and I are trying to work out how to pay for the next term. Oh, well, something will turn up, Nathan said, not really thinking about it. Then it hit him, what if Duncan thought he was in this for the long haul? Vicki was fun, and he'd keep her around longer than the others, but Nathan wasn't looking to get tied down. He silently hoped, to any god that might listen to someone like him, that this just stayed fun. I'm sure we'll find a way. Mom thinks Grandma might help. But let's talk about you. How's it going? Good. Aruba was fun. I think your mom came back happy too. Nathan gave Jen a small tease, and she laughed. Yeah, she does look happy. Shame you didn't join more. Yep, a shame. Got plans this weekend? I was thinking of hanging out with Vicki. You and your bro sounds cool, Nathan hoped. Deep down, they'd be busy. He wanted Vicki all to himself for lots of fun. Nathan thought, looks like it's just you and Mom then. Mark and I are back to school. That's a pity. We'll meet up some other time. Inside, Nathan felt lucky. He wondered, maybe there's some kind of higher power making this happen. Nathan smiled at his own thought. Maybe being top dog means winning over someone amazing. Vicki was nearly there in Nathan's eyes, and he'd happily think of her that way. Nathan and Jen walked into the kitchen where Mark was helping Vicki with the cooking. Nathan hugged Vicki tight, kissed her, then kissed her neck. "Stop, Nathan. You do know I'm holding a knife, right?" Vicki laughed, trying to push him away as she chopped a bell pepper. But she ended up pulling him closer instead. You had to really push when his hands started to wander. "Nathan, my kids are here," Jen was laughing. "We can go, Mom." "No, stay. Dinner won't be ready. Nathan won't get done if you..." Nathan, Vicki was now a bit annoyed, and Nathan understood, stepping back. But he stole one last kiss, making Vicki laugh again. "Enough. Sit down, let me finish." "Jen, give our guest a beer." Vicki smiled at Nathan, having got that beer just for him because it was his favorite from Aruba. "Wow, really?" Nathan was surprised when Jen handed him the beer. "Where did you?" "I ordered it." "Nice pick," Vicki jumped in. "You got it." "Thanks." Mark tried one. "Okay," Mark said softly, eyeing Vicki. She gave a thumbs up. "Yeah, okay," he cheered up. Mark got a beer and tried to like his first sip. He was young and didn't really get beer yet, which made Nathan laugh when Mark made a face. "You'll get it. College is about how much, not the taste. You'll start to like it when you're not flipping cups for fun." "He'd best not be flipping cups." Vicki looked at Mark sharply. "I'm not, I promise," Mark said to Vicki, giving Nathan a secret grin. She missed when Vicki went back to making dinner. Mark and Nathan traded a knowing look. All was fine. Then dinner was tasty, but Mark and Jen didn't taste Brad's sauce. It made the meal Vicki tried to copy, but it wasn't the same without it. Everything tasted off, and Mark and Jen went for a sauce Nathan brought. Jen felt a tear slip out, scared she might never taste Dad's sauce again. Mark and Jen left after they cleaned up. As soon as the door shut, Nathan and Vicki were all over each other. Dwayne had lost that bet. If Nathan had his way, Vicki loved her coffee the next morning. Last weekend with Nathan was top-notch. She missed Brad and wanted him back, but with him gone, Nathan filled the gap. He forgot his worries from Aruba and made up for lost time in the past months. This was the Nathan Vicki liked, the one she needed. Mark and Jen were popping over again this weekend. Vicki needed her kids, her folks hardly talked to her, no help there. Coming home to no one every day was sad and hard. Vicki was about to get more coffee when her phone rang. She picked up, not looking at the caller ID. "Hello," she asked. "Mom, you okay?" It was Jen, sounding worried. "Yes, dear," Vicki said, adding cream and sugar to her coffee. "Just making coffee." "What's up? Heading out already?" About that, Mom, I can't come this weekend." "That's all right," Vicki tried to sound okay. She would miss Jen but knew her daughter had her own life. "Summer break is soon, we'll hang out a lot then." "Mom, I might not come home much." "Why?" Vicki was shocked. "It's Nathan, Mom. I can't be around him. Last week, you two were fine. You even hugged him." "I know, and I felt bad all week. I kept thinking about what Nathan means for us." "What do you mean?" "Nathan hasn't been a problem." "Don't lie. Everything has its price, Mom. School, kids, marriage, the price of your affair was our dad, and backing you cost Mark and me our dad." "Wow, that's a bit much," Vicki said, not taking her daughter seriously. "Stop it, Mom. At the barbecue, I kept thinking, where's Dad? He used to make the ribs, listen to Mark and me, help us, make us laugh. And Nathan doesn't." "That's not true. You like being with him, Mom. This isn't about Nathan." "Yes, I like Nathan, but it's not the same. He's a good guy, but not Dad. If I had to pick who I want, it's Dad every time. That's the thing. If Nathan's here, Dad won't come back. Wow, so much going on. So you're not coming back? Jen let out a big sigh. No, Mom, I'll come back, just not much. I need to get a job for my car and school. I'll stay away from Nathan and maybe, just maybe, find Dad. Jan, dear, that's okay, but could you wait a bit to do that? It's so quiet here, and I'd love to have you and Mark over. I won't invite Nathan for a while. How's that? Jen didn't like this. She cared for her mom and knew she felt sad all alone. Okay, Mom. I'll come over next weekend. I'm busy this weekend, but should be free after. Vicki and Jen talked some more. Jen found some starter jobs that paid well, one even helped with school costs. Jen would have to change schools and redo some classes, but it seemed like a good deal. Nathan moved off Vicki. They were both sweaty and catching their breath. Vicki had a huge, silly smile. Nathan thought he had done well this time. If she had a cigarette, Vicki would look like she was from an old movie after lovemaking. Wow, Vicki said, looking up. She had kept away from Nathan for more than a week. Jen's talk about choosing made Vicki think twice about needing Nathan, but tonight, feeling alone, her will to stay away broke, and they ended up in bed. Just wow, Nathan asked, eyebrow up. You're right, that was great. Better than your no-good husband, right? Nathan grinned. Vicki snapped, what? She turned away, clearly mad. Nathan, puzzled, looked at her. What did I say? Hey, that jerk left you 'cause he knew he couldn't do that to you. Leave. Leave now. What? Leave now? Vicki shoved Nathan, trying to get him out of the bed. What's up with you? You're not even half as good in bed as Brad. You're not even half the man he is. Take your stuff and go. Nathan got up and started to put on his clothes. Are you for real? He dumps you, doesn't even try to keep you, and you're kicking me out? Forget it, you're not worth it. Nathan had his pants on, grabbed the rest of his clothes, and left. The clamming of the bedroom door felt like an end to Vicki's world. How could Nathan say that about Brad? Nathan was just a side guy, not Brad. Brad was everything she wanted. Vicki felt less mad now. Brad was all she wanted. She looked around the empty room, little of Brad was there now. She hid photos of Brad and herself. It felt bad to have them with Nathan around, both as a slap to Brad and their marriage, and for Nathan too. But now the room felt like a hotel, not the place where she lived with Brad for years. It could be anyone's room. Vicki heard the front door slam and knew Nathan was gone. Then she felt truly alone. Her own mom and dad were far away, they didn't call her much. She heard about her dad from Nathan more than from her mom. Jen didn't come by much either, her job took all her time. Even when she did come, she was different. The daughter who was there for Vicki during her time with Nathan was gone. She was nice but didn't care much about Vicki and Nathan being together. Jen gave up hope for Vicki and Brad, this caused fights between Vicki and Jen. They had arguments, silent angry times. Jen was close to sad and blamed Vicki for it. Vicki was mad at Jen, and they were growing apart. Vicki didn't want this gap, but Jen was stuck in her ways. Mark was still around now and then. He cared a lot for Vicki, her last bit of family left. But Mark often put himself first. Vicki knew Mark was here more for himself than for her. If Brad was still taking care of things, Mark would be out with his pals more. Jen, on the other hand, always put family first. Nathan, Mr. Shar wants to see you, Nathan heard Morin say. Okay, I'll be right there. Nathan put away his files, cleaned his desk, and checked if anything else might keep him back from another sit-down with Bert. Nathan figured it was going to be more of the same, with Bert hinting Nathan was in trouble. With his desk neat, Nathan breathed deep, ready for what was next. As Nathan walked to the lifts, he saw Dwayne looking mad. Bad day? Nathan asked. Was Bert mad too? What's up, you goddamn jerk? Dwayne was fuming. Dwayne, what's the matter? What's the matter? You were with her, you were with Nancy. Nathan saw Dwayne's fists tight, stopping himself from hitting. Oh no, he didn't know. Hold on, Dwayne, calm down. Don't calm down me, you traitor. Dwayne was right in Nathan's face. Lucky we're at work. Keep away from me. Dwayne left, cheeks flaming. This is a nightmare of a week, Nathan thought. How did Dwayne find out? Should I even ask what else might go wrong? Nathan hadn't noticed he was shaking and sweating. He had thought Dwayne was a pushover. Now, Nathan wasn't so sure. Dwayne might turn out to be tougher than Brad. At least Brad had gone away. Nathan had to deal with Dwayne, and many at work liked him. This is bad, he thought again. The lift was on floor 1, giving Nathan a bit of time. Dwayne had scared him a lot, yet time was still too short. He thought, if not for the cash Bert gave him, Nathan would be out. That's not all true. He had some ladies he had yet to get close to. After that, he'd leave. Avoiding Dwayne seemed doable. Would any of Dwayne's mates step up? They might put on a show but do nothing real. Nathan was sure of it. The lift rang and reached Bert's level. Snapped back to the now, Nathan walked to Bert's front desk. Lady got lost, Morin joked as Nathan showed up. Nathan tried to think of a smart, flirty reply, but Morin never showed him any signs. She was a late-20s looker, matching snow white, dark hair, soft pale skin, and bright red lips. Always, if not for her chatty way with Bert, Nathan would peg her as cold. She had real smiles and laughs for Bert. To Nathan, she seemed without feeling. He now saw she wore a wedding band next to her engagement ring. Suddenly, Nathan wanted her more. Before, she was just attractive. With that ring, she was on his list. The thought of her dropping her guard for him pushed all troubles out of his mind. A new target. Vicki. Nathan still puzzled over that night she had tossed him out. That was new. And why her, not their husband? Vicki had picked Nathan over him. Then, flipped. Fine, let her come back, wanting the sea is big, full of fish like Morin. Yeah, how about next time you guide me so I don't? Morin just shook her head, not even a grin. Tough Nathan had hoped for at least a tiny smile. Morin grabbed her phone. Mr. Schaefer? Yeah, he's here. Send him up. Got it. Morin hung up. This way, right behind you, Nathan whispered. Getting the volume right was a skill too soft and you seemed flirty too loud and it was just rude, but Morin didn't react. She walked ahead, and Nathan followed, watching her move. Need anything else, Mr. Schaefer? Morin asked Bert. No, all good thanks, Morin. She gave Bert a smile and left, closing the door. Nathan, have a seat. Bert gestured toward a couch. Bert's office setup was a giveaway. 2 couches meant to chat about personal stuff or smoothing things over, the chairs by his desk straight up business talks. Nathan knew sitting on the couch meant he was in for a tough chat. Nathan, glad you could make it, not like I had a choice, Nathan replied. Drink? Sure. Bert poured them both a good shot of Glenlivet. Nathan was relieved, at least Bert wasn't cheap with his liquor. He took his glass. Thanks, Nathan. You know I'd hate to see you go, right? You're a big deal here, I get it, Nathan half joked. Right, so have you thought about leaving? Maybe, looked around. Why would I? Bert, deep down, Nathan was tired, the issue with Vicki getting kicked out of his place. Why was this mess landing on him? It was Vicki's drama. Well, Nathan, it's about to get a lot tougher here, Bert put it straightforwardly. No hard feelings, think about it, Bert said. Men don't like when others sleep with their wives. It seems you have done this a lot here, not just with my kid. I heard one guy knows, soon others will too, so if their wife cheats, that's on them, Nathan said, but it's not just them. Bert leaned in, hands together. You were there. 2. Those women will talk about how you got them to cheat. Their husbands won't like you much then. You helped it happen. They won't think you're good. Get it? Nathan gave a half nod. He thought about a few husbands at work who could make trouble for him, not face to face, but messing with his money or computer. But would they really? They couldn't keep their wives happy. That's why they went to him. Should he be scared of these guys? Bert's voice brought him back. I called some places. They're waiting for your call if you want to move on. Are you kicking me out, Bert? Nathan got mad fast, seeing the paper slide his way. No way, he wouldn't be pushed out. He was the top guy here. If Bert wanted him gone, Nathan would leave on his terms, not pushed out like this. No way. I'm not firing you, just giving you choices. Good, 'cause you can't fire me. Bert let out a big sigh. Nathan, I'm making it easy for you. Just go. These jobs are good, Bert said, but he knew that wasn't quite true. They'd be a step down, and those places would watch Nathan like a hawk, but Nathan was tough, hard to kill. Bert didn't like him one bit. He wished Nathan had tried something with Irene. She'd have torn him apart and tossed his bits into the Glenlivet, and Bert wouldn't have cared about the scotch going to waste. You move on, start fresh, and all this trouble goes away. Trouble? What bloody trouble, Bert? Dwayne's got no guts. He can stuff it, so can the rest. I'm out. When I say I'm out, got it? Nathan stood up. Thanks for the drink. The door banged shut after Nathan. Bert sighed. He'd given Nathan many chances. This was the last straw, and he owed Irene again. Bert picked up his phone. Irene? Hi, love. You talked to him? Bert sighed. Yeah. Irene laughed. I win again. Damn it. Yeah, you win. The fool wouldn't listen. I even called around for him. You did even more, and he still said no? Oh, Bert, that's hardly fair. I'll go broke with these bets. Maybe dinner instead of paying up? I'd love that, Bert. Bert heard Irene take a breath. Bert, the bets don't matter. I wish you were right, but it's out of our hands now. You've already dashed.